Hello and welcome back to Guns USA. Today we're reviewing the Glock 17. We're going to clean the Glock 17, disassemble and reassemble the Glock 17. Let's take a look. Now, like all firearms, let's make sure it is safe. Even though I thoroughly inspected the firearm, I'm still going to inspect it and make sure it isn't safe. We're going to pull the slide back. We're going to look down the mag well. Mag well is empty. We're also going to check the barrel, make sure there's not a round in the barrel. We are clear and we are able to proceed. So I'm going to let the slide go forward. I want to put the two release pins down after I bring the slide back. I'm going to let the slide go forward, pull the trigger, and the slide should come right off. Now we're going to lay the lower on the table. We're going to remove the guide rod and spring, like so. And we're going to go ahead and take the barrel out. We just got done shooting this firearm last week, so it is a little dirty and needs a little touching up. We have a little bit of powder residue in the slide itself, plus we have it in the lower of the firearm itself. And how to do that, I'm going to use a Q-tip to get away all the debris from the slide. Using Hops number 9 gun cleaner. It's a great solvent. I've used it for many years. And it's probably number 1 in my book as far as breaking down the powder residue. Now I'm not going to submerge the brush. I'm just going to get it damp. And I'm going to take and I'm going to visually inspect the slide. I ask that you do the same and always do a visual inspection and make sure there's no extra wear or tear on your firearm that can be prevented by going to the right gunsmith. Now, I've only had that happen once on a car 9mm, which I was able to file and hand file myself, and it ran flawlessly after that. But I did notice there was a little slap, and that was about 10-15 years ago. Since then, I've had no problems, and I believe it was a used firearm, and maybe they were shooting some hot ammunition. But meanwhile, let's wipe this down and get the powder residue out of the slide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Q-tip and I'm going to go in and out of the slide here where it rides the rail. And I'm going to remove all powder residue from when we shot it last week. It's already getting black. This one had about 400 or 500 rounds through it. It ran flawlessly with no problems at all. Of course, that's what Glock is known to do, is run flawlessly. And I'm a big Glock fan. I actually like Glock. I own several guns, and Glock has always been around to treat me right. So I definitely recommend a good Glock 9mm if you're looking for that one. They also make it in several different calibers as well. But meanwhile, I'm just going to take out the powder residue out of the slide here. And the reason why we're doing that is because the more and more you get that powder buildup, the less your gun will function. If you get it all grimy inside, it won't perform when you need it the most, whether that's concealed carry or just range time. So after I wipe this all down real good, and just kind of clean it up, take out some of that powder residue, then we'll move on to the lower assembly of the firearm and kind of give that a good wipe down where all the powder residue goes. You don't want to get your gun fully wet and real damp. When you reassemble that firearm, you're going to have a lot of excess gun cleaner, which will cause the powder to cake up while you're running it. Powder will stick to a wet surface. So after I do this here, I'm going to touch up the front just a little bit. You get a lot of powder residue on the front when the firearm goes off itself. So we're just going to wipe off a little bit of that powder residue. It don't have to be exactly perfect because we can wipe it off with a rag when we're done. Just gets all that gray burnt looking powder off the front. Okay, clean up your little components here for your ejector. And let's take a look at where the firearm shell gets extracted. Kind of clean that up a little bit. Just wipe her out here a little bit. Now, if you clean your firearms thoroughly and really well, then they'll last a lifetime. I've never had a firearm not run because I didn't properly clean it. I always clean my firearms after a long day at the range. Now, I also have an AK-47 as well, and those are known to run non-stop, which I've never had a problem with that. And I put about 1,000 rounds through that one this past week as well for Independence Day. And it ran flawlessly. But again, I still recommend that you clean it. It'll increase the life of your firearm, and it'll also make you a happy camper when you go out to play on the range. So now we got the slide all wiped down and cleaned up a little bit. There's still a little bit more to do on the outside, but we'll get to that here in a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lower. I can definitely see some powder residue that's left over from when we went shooting. And inside's a little black here. We're going to wipe that down as well. So I'm going to grab another Q-tip. I'm just going to get it damp. Don't have to be perfect. I'll bring out a gun cloth, and we'll just kind of let it stay damp. And we're going to wipe all the excess powder off the inside of the internals. And we're going to clean it up a little bit. See, it's already black just a little bit. And we're going to just touch her up here on the inside. It doesn't have to be 110% perfect. It just has to be clean of all debris. And that's what makes your firearm work really well in all conditions, actually, even when it's cold. There ain't nothing worse than going to a range, and I've seen a couple people this happen to. Go to the range and they didn't clean their firearms from the last time they used it. And before you know it, they're saying, my gun don't work, my gun don't work. And the reason why is because they didn't take the time to learn how to properly disassemble their firearm and give it a good cleaning prior to going back out to the range. They just probably bought it and kept shooting and shooting and shooting, and then figured they'd go to the range one day with a friend or their wife or something like that, and then before you know it, the range day's over because they didn't do what they should have, and that's properly clean their firearm. Just like your car, if you buy a brand new car and you drive it through a bunch of salt, and you keep doing that, and that salt sticks to your vehicle, eventually it's going to rust. Salt on your fingers do the same thing on firearms. They can eat through metal, no time at all. No time at all. Especially if it's unattended and it just sits there. It's important to keep your firearms clean. And that's what I recommend to everyone. Even the military tells them that a clean rifle is a good rifle. And if you want to put your life on it in the field, you have to have your rifle clean. It's the same thing here, same concept. And I shoot quite often too, so I clean a little more than most probably. But it's definitely worth cleaning. You want to take care of the stuff that's going to take care of you in the future. So now we've gave that a thorough wipe down. Let's go ahead and take a look at the guide rod and the spring. We'll just give that a little bit of a wipe down too. Just get rid of any kind of powder residue or a little bit of debris. Now your cheaper ammo, such as like your Wolf ammo versus your brass ammo, your brass will have a little bit of cleaner powder. Now Wolf claims that their powder is non-corrosive, which is a good thing, I hope so. But it's still more of a gunkier powder, more of a black powder that can stain your gun very easily. It is a cheaper powder. It's not as good as a lot of your brass powders from Federal or Winchester or Remington or anything like that. So they use a little cheaper stuff, but it does all seem to work. Now the primers are a little harder, which in some cases they say are good or bad on your firing pin. Probably depends on what firearm you're shooting that in. So now we got a good thorough cleaning on your guide rod and spring. Let's move right along back to the barrel. Yep, the barrel needs the feed ramp cleaned up, so we're going to use one more Q-tip. And we're going to clean up that feed ramp. Make sure it's nice and clean and polished. We're going to wipe her down here, get rid of all the powder residue. And this will help prolong the life of your firearm as well. Just take off some of that powder. That's why I like hops number 9. Hops number 9 just does it all. It cleans and kind of puts a little bit of a solvent on there, not too much, but it definitely gets rid of all the excess powder residue, which is what's going to cause your gum to malfunction if it just continues to cake itself on there. All right, now let's see if we got a brush here. We can run a brush through it. And I'm going to do here, get my brass rod. I'm just going to dip it down in the hops here. Just get it damp. Don't have to be soaked, just a little wet. Then you can stick it through your barrel. Kind of let the brush break through all the grime and the powder. Just work it in there back and forth. Maybe add just a little bit. Tighten up my brush here. There we go. Get all the grime and debris out. We'll take a look down the barrel and see how things are looking. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to use my light here, check it. It's breaking loose all the powder, so that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put on my, let's see, my cotton patch. Let me get my adapter here. I'm just going to swab it out inside and take a look at the barrel. This will help lift all the debris and excess powder and solvent out of the barrel. Once we get that started, I'll just pull it through here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly turn as I go forward and pick up all that stuff and debris and grime that's left over from the hops. We'll see if it's black when we push through here. Oh yeah. Now it's pulling that right out. So now I'm going to go back through. I'm going to run it again. I'm going to turn the brush as I pull slow. Lift out much more. There we go. Straighten this out. Take a look inside. Still a little damp there, so we're going to put it back through again. What this will do will drive out a lot of that powder that's broke down in there. And you just do it until it starts lifting it all off. I might throw another brush pad on here, or a swab I should say. Run through another one just to see if we got all the grime out. Check her again, see if we're picking up any extra. There we go. Now we're picking up a little bit. We'll run it back through again. We'll check her. See how she looks. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. It's nice and shiny on the inside, almost like a mirror finish. But again, I already have this pad out, so I'm going to turn it inside out. I'm going to run it through one more time. Just check for any more debris. See if we can lift just a little bit more out of there. There's a little bit left. It's all right. We'll keep going. Take a look again. It's looking better already. As I'm looking at the rifling and I'm checking. Make sure I don't see no debris inside the rifling. So overall, that looks pretty good there. So let's go ahead and put the patch away. Take off our brass rod. Put one of our adapters back, put the brush back. And now we have a clean guide rod and spring. We have a clean barrel. We have a clean slide. And a clean lower with all the internals. I don't see nothing that looks excessively wet, but I'll just give it another additional wipe down a little bit just to pick up anything extra. The mechanicals that are a little dirty, needs wiped off. I think we overall look pretty good here. So let's go ahead and reassemble. Now we're going to start back with the slide. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab our barrel. And we're going to go ahead and insert it into the slide upside down until it falls into place. Now I'm going to take my guide rod and spring and I'm going to go ahead and install that back in. Just compress it just a little bit. You don't have to use much force. And it should lay in there pretty nice. Now that is under some tension, but not a whole lot of tension, so it should be okay. Now we're going to put it back on track. We're going to run it down after we line everything up. We should be able to just pull it back and it's locked back in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, make sure everything is good. It is good. All the functions work. And we are good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe down the outside. Fingerprints is a no-no. So I take a little bit of hops number 9. And I try to get rid of all the fingerprints. Even if it's got the melanite finish, you don't want to wear off your finish, and you don't want any of your sweat or salt in your skin to start pitting your firearm. So we're going to wipe this down real good. Just clean it up a little bit. That way when we put it back in the safe, it'll keep a nice clean finish, and we don't have to worry about it until we use it next time. And there you have it. That is your Glock 17 disassembly, clean, reassembly, and your thorough cleaning and inspection. I'm Jeff from Guns USA, and thanks for watching.